When I was young, XYZ meant you were running out of breath reciting the alphabet. Today, it means a generation that the automobile business is obsessed with selling cars to, young and hip folk. Well, Buick would be happy just to attract people under the age of 60. Now, Buick can thank China for not having followed its brother Oldsmobile to the graveyard, because in China, Buick is extremely popular and with younger people. In fact, here in North America, with the new product out, Buick sales are up 12%. Well, this week we're going to check out a new vehicle that General Motors is hoping will continue that new age trend, and they're calling it the Buick Encore.
It's a brand new segment. It's a luxury small SUV, and it's a vehicle that's built for urban driving. So we want to target those younger, consumers living in our key cities, so Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. And it's a vehicle that's built exactly to meet their needs. There's no direct competitor, so we think that the closest one is probably going to be the Volkswagen Tiguan from a size and pricing perspective. But again, we're looking at a vehicle that's, it's an SUV, but it's smaller, so it's nimble and it's easy to park, in and out of congested, urban, densely populated urban areas.
It wasn't that long ago we checked out the Chevy Trax, which will not be sold in the United States like the Encore will. I don't know about you, but there's some definite family resemblance.
The Buick is much more upscale, so it's going to offer lots of standard features, even in the first package. And we feel that this is also very important because styling is a big part of the vehicle being appealing to that target audience. So Buick will clearly be differentiated by the styling and the extra features included in the base packages.
What makes the difference is the luxurious appointment on the inside, the quietness, and also the suspension. The ride and handling is completely different from the Trax. We have the one tire size strategy on the Buick Encore, so the suspension can be specially tuned and optimized for one tire size to deliver the Buick's ride and handling characteristics.
We think it's probably going to be skewed towards, women at around 60%. We're looking between 30 and 35, so fairly young compared to the overall Buick average. And it's probably going to be targeted towards, single or young family, but without any kids.
Now, this Encore is small, just about 169 inches long, more than a foot shorter than the Verano. But that's the point. Easy to navigate around town, nice tight turning radius, and inside, all the bells and whistles you'd expect in a luxury vehicle. And with the noise cancellation feature, something else you'd expect in a premium vehicle, a quiet ride. Now, I admit to being a little puzzled. You see, the demographic, according to General Motors, is single women, no kids. However, they have a very handy feature. It's a child lock button in the front rather than inside the door. Doubt it's going to get much use. And one final thing, if I buy a new vehicle, there's one option I will not live without. Heated seats and heated steering wheel. Heck, I got these on 10 months of the year. Now, the Encore comes with a 1.4-liter turbocharged inline-4, same engine found in the Sonic and Cruise, and it's mated with a 6-speed automatic. 138 horsepower and 148 pound-feet of torque. Well, these numbers may not sound that impressive, but it's more than enough to give this baby Enclave enough kick when you need it.
We often say that the Encore speaks the design language of Buick, just like its biggest sibling, the Enclave. The Buick Encore exterior projects a captivating and self-confident image that blends elegance with utilities.
There's a brand perception, of course, that we're trying to change, that Buick is an old man's car, and these are the types of a vehicle that are going to change the perception on this brand.
I know you've never heard me say this before, but I told you so. More later on Kenzie's Corner.
Convention dictates that when a manufacturer launches a new car, it's expected to last for between 5 and 7 years before it gets a major redo, while Kia does not follow convention as we've seen. On this edition of Test Drive, the all-new Forte, a car that comes just 3 short years after its original debut. The Forte's look is refreshingly different. Yes, it's a typical 3-box design, but it has style. The SX featured xenon headlights along with Kia's swanky light bar technology taillights. This and the new lines vault the Forte from frumpy to fancy and makes it one of the best looking sedans in the compact segment. One of the key advantages to the Forte is the fact you can buy it with as much or as little as you want. There is, for instance, a manual transmission and no air conditioning. At the other end of the price ladder, you'll find this car. This is the fully loaded SX. Now this thing comes with heated and cooled power driver's seat that's got 10-way adjustment, heated steering wheel, very nice instrumentation, a full-on nav system that has the maps loaded on an SD card, so it means updating the maps is a very simple venture. You'll also find a power moonroof, leather seating, the list goes on and on and on. It really is remarkable how much luxury you can actually put in a small car. The latest Forte is available with 1.8 and 2-litre engines along with both 6-speed manual and 6-speed automatic transmissions. The 1.8-litre engine produces 148 horsepower and 131 pound-feet of torque. The up-level 2-litre direct injection engine, however, it ups the output to 173 horsepower and 154 pound-feet of torque. When teamed with the automatic transmission, acceleration to 100k takes just 9 seconds, which is pretty good for the segment. It also means that this engine is the only way to go unless fuel economy is paramount. One of the key improvements to this new Forte is the stretch in the wheelbase. It not only improves ride comfort, they've stretched it by 50mm to 2700. That's the same as the much larger Sorento. The advantage, aside from the ride quality it brings, is the legroom it gives the rear seat riders. There's plenty, lots of headspace, and if you go with the SX, you get nice heated leather rear seats. As is usual, the automatic is going to be the transmission of choice. It is quick to shift and it delivers a rewarding turn of speed as the lower gears are aimed at launching the car with authority and then maintaining that work ethic through the mid-range. Then there's the top gear. It brings comfortable cruising and decent fuel economy. It is one of the better powertrain combinations available at this point. It really would be very easy to overlook just how much content you get in this Forte SX. So what I did, I looked at some luxury cars. If you take a look at the Lexus ES350, which will set you back just shy of $40,000, you actually have to add options to that price to bring it up to the level of equipment you'll find in the SX. And it'll only set you back $26,000 and change. Now that is what I call value for money. The extensive use of ultra-high strength steel throughout the body equates to a 37% improvement in torsional rigidity and a better base of operations for the suspension. The combination is good enough it gets rid of the harshness that was evident in the former Forte. In this case, the ride is comfortable and the handling is accomplished, especially the SX and its 215 45R17 tyres. These not only reduce understeer when the car is pushed, there's less stability control intervention as you near the limit. Another neat feature is flex steer. It allows the driver to choose between comfort, normal and sport modes. Comfort is a tad too loose for me, normal works when you're running about town, but sport is the right setting if you enjoy an engaging drive. This new Forte really does take a huge step in the right direction. Much nicer style, a cabin that is significantly better and comes with all the toys you could possibly want. But what I really did enjoy, the handling is great. I like the ability to adjust the steering, and the 2-litre engine adds a great deal of sportiness to the drive. Overall, what impressed me, however, was just how much value you get for your hard-earned dollar.
The Viper's changed over the years. You know, the initial Viper was sexy, outrageous, almost like a cartoon, like a caricature of a car, you know, very outrageous proportions. And then it kind of evolved, it got a little, you know, more gentlemanly, so to speak. So this time around, we tried to combine the two elements, you know, the precision and still go back to the very sexy forms. I believe a sports car has to evoke a kind of a primal instinct in humans, and I think that's what the new car does. I love the rear three-quarter of the vehicle as you stare down, because very few cars have such an outrageous waistline. And the Viper has a very, very intense waistline where it sinks in the middle, almost like a Coke bottle type feel. And then that gill, you know, where the hood and the fender come together, is this beautiful intake that's a good 140 millimeters wide, and it's functional. So there's these functional forms and organic styling forms that come together to make a very, very sexy car. Well, this car is, I hope, you know, a few years from now it's known as a driver's car, because for years the Viper's been known as kind of hard to handle, you know, not known for its handling, and where it has records all over the world. Matter of fact, we have a record at Nürburgring still to this day, and we have the record at Laguna Seca. We've got records all over tracks in the US, and we don't get the credit for it. People think we're a straight line wonder, or we're a muscle car, you know, kind of a traffic light type, you know, race or something. Not that we endorse that, but you know. But it's really a great driver's car, and we really focused on that with the new car. You know, making the steering telepathic, you know, making the shifter very precise. The brakes are intense. The handling of the car is second to none, and that comes from our racing. We've been racing the Viper since the mid-90s. And so that passion for road racing and the passion for acceleration and braking and all those things that make a sports car great are now part of the car's calling card. But I'm most proud of the interior. I'm really very pleased that we finally have a true world-class interior. Every surface is leather wrapped. We still have a few areas we're going to chase yet, but overall, you sit in the vehicle and it smells like leather. It smells like a proper exotic supercar should. I was born in New York City, but I was only there for 10 months, and I lived my formative years in Montreal, Canada. And a lot of my values come from that. I lived in Quebec, and my parents were, you know, good, decent middle class, lower middle class people. I had to work for everything. Nothing was given to us, you know. My father was very big about education. You know, he had a decent education, but he wanted us to do as much as we could with our lives. So I eventually found my way to Detroit because I was in love with the car industry. I had written a letter when I was 14 years old to Lee Iacocca. And not himself, but someone wrote back from the company and said, hey, you know what, you should probably get an education in car design. Here are the schools. And I took, you know, it took me a while, but I figured it all out and took the recommendations, and here I am. You know, so in a way, it sounds cheesy, but I feel like it was meant to be that I'm at Chrysler, and I've worked 20 years at this company and never worked anywhere else, and I love it. It seems like the same car on the outside overall, but it's so different. You know, the car is nimble now. You know, it's got track shoes. It's really a great car, and I hope becomes the legend we want it to be.
We're in Alberta. This is Canada's truck country, and Ford has chosen to come out here to Drumheller to show off the 2013 F-150. And what are they showing us? Frankly, not much. There's not a lot new on this truck. It's a carryover year. So they brought out every version of the F-150. Why? Because they don't want to be forgotten.
As for the electric vehicle, it's not like it should disappear or will disappear completely. It's just that it's been overpromised and overhyped. I mean, the electric vehicle, for somebody who never gets out of town, just goes around the city, these are great uses for electric vehicles. And there's a place, perhaps 20 years down the road, 3-4% of the market will be pure electric battery-powered vehicles. But the concept that we're going through an electric revolution which is battery-powered cars, versus an electrified revolution, which is possible, which is hybrids. There's no electric revolution. Electric cars are not going to be 25% of our market. There's not going to be a breakthrough where you magically drive between here and Vancouver as easily as you can in a gasoline-fueled car or a hybrid car in a battery-powered car. You'll either be range limited, or if you get a huge range on it, it'll take you forever to charge it. So long-term, hybrids, yes. Battery-powered EVs, I would say, are going to be minimal impact.
The motoring tip of the week is brought to you by Walmart. For everyday low prices on Pennzoil, conventional and synthetic oils.
Our motoring tip of the week concerns seasonal storage of your tires. I know a lot of our viewers have two sets of tires, a full set of winters and a set of all season or summer tires, and they change seasonally. That's the ideal position for safety of your vehicle in 12 months of Canadian driving. Now, what you do with that set of tires that aren't on the vehicle, that are in storage, can be critical. If you go to the tire manufacturer's websites, you can get some great tips on what you should do to store away your tires. Here's some that Toyo gave us that are really handy, and some of them you might not have thought of. If the entire vehicle's being stored, good idea to drive it periodically so that oil dispersion within the tread compounds occurs. The worst thing is a vehicle that's just sitting with weight on the tires and never being driven. They also say do not apply any tire dressings. Tire compounds are formulated to resist ozone cracking and weather checking. Keep tires out of direct sunlight. We know that ultraviolet rays from the sun break down leather, vinyl, rubber, and any soft products like that. They dry out the oil, so it's a good idea to keep any tires out of the direct sunlight. Also, store them in a cool, dry location. Basement is ideal. A garden shed or your attic, not good because they get way too hot in the summertime. But one tip in this book that I thought many of you might not have thought of. Now, we all use these tire bags for storage, and they keep our clothing clean, keep the interior of the car clean, and just make the whole job a lot less messy. But they also serve to reduce the number of air changes around the tire. So if you tie the bags up nice and tight before you put the tires away and don't punch any holes in the bag, you reduce the number of air changes. And remember, oil is a big component of tire manufacturing. So if you can keep that oil in the tire and stop it from outgassing, the bag will do that for you. That's going to extend the life of your tire. Make sure if the tires are on the rims before they go in the bag, it's perfectly dry. That's your motoring tip of the week.
To become a true legend, you have to pass the toughest test of all, the test of time. And I don't think that newer always means better. In fact, the vehicle we're driving this week has been around in its current form since 2011. What I want to know is, does the crown still fit? That is a 2013 Subaru WRX STI, and this is the 2-minute test drive. The STI is legendary for a few things. First and foremost is the Subaru symmetrical full-time all-wheel drive. Is that still the benchmark? Let's find out. When this current STI was introduced, it came with the same amount of power and torque as the previous one. But the new STI is faster, simply because it makes better use of what it already had. The thing about this STI is the grip. It has insane grip, and I hate to say it, that grip is legendary. It's a symmetrical all-wheel drive, as good as it is out here on dry pavement. Let me show you where it really works. Watch this, pylons in the dirt. And why not when you consider the car's DNA stems from rally competition? That's how you do pylons in the dirt. Brembo brakes, limited slip differentials front and rear, the STI is basically a rally car with some luxury added. My pet peeve with this STI is something that's not entirely Subaru's fault. You see, there's a Pioneer head unit in this one, and the type on it is very, very small. I find it really distracting, especially when I'm going down the highway. Besides, what's my grandmother going to think when she borrows my STI? You can tailor the center diff settings, the vehicle dynamic control, and the traction systems to your own liking. Okay, so personally, I think the crown still fits, but you might not agree with me. So, simply find me a $38,000, 300 horsepower all-wheel drive car and come on out. I'll be here till 6. My name's Russ Bond, and this has been the 2-minute test drive.
Closed captioning for Motoring 2013 is brought to you by
greener, fuel efficient, global. This is Chevrolet Now, driving our world forward.
A friend of mine has bought an electric car. He's a journalist, lives in Los Angeles, and he picked up a Mitsubishi i-MiEV. He says it's great. He says they don't drive that far in their little community. He's had it for a year and a half, no problems. And he said the best thing about it, the government paid for almost a third of the car. Well, guess I can't complain about that. And Fiat is going to be introducing an electric version of their little 500. They've got a new marketing twist coming up. They're going to allow you to rent any vehicle you want for 12 days a year, because they know that their car won't let you drive all the way to visit your grandma down in Alabama, so you can rent something bigger. And it's not like you're going to get a gasoline-powered Fiat 500. You're going to get any vehicle you want. You want to move? Rent a great big pickup truck. Anything you want. The question I have there is this going to put the pressure on all other small car manufacturers? You're going to buy a Hyundai Accent or a Chevy Sonic or something, and then you're going to come back to the dealership and say, oh, by the way, I got to move my stuff this weekend. Can I have a Silverado while I'm doing it? I'm not sure that's going to work. But then I started thinking about it. The reason the Fiat people are doing this, they say, is to try and prove that electric cars can be viable. Well, if the way to make electric cars viable is the government pays for a third of the car, and anytime you need a real car, they'll give you one for free. Am I missing something here? I'm Jim Kenzie.
The reaction I get from most people when they see this vehicle for the first time is, I like the looks, but it's awfully small, isn't it? Yes, it is, and that is the point. It's not really a crossover, it's a car, very European. I think we'll see more vehicles in this segment, and maybe that's why they're calling the Encore the baby Buick. Before we go, make sure you check us out at motoringtv.com and join us on Facebook. We want you to get in on the conversation for the total motoring experience. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.